Hello, hello. It's my Fabian. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm glad to be
I'm
here.
good. Okay, so we got so many people that reached out. Fabian was on a podcast with us earlier. It was Life After Z Gallery. We talked a lot about your displays and merchandising and what you do with IKEA. Melissa talked to us about her career and what we all did together at Z Gallery. And I had so many people reach out that wanted to hear more about you and talk more about merchandising. So I was like, we should do a merchandising roundtable. So there's no questions at all. It's literally like, well, one, I do want to hear more about IKEA. I think that's the one thing a lot of people are like, what did he do? What? So
Yeah.
hello. Welcome.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You and I go back so long, and I'm so grateful. I fucking love you so much. Like you're
Likewise.
seriously one of the most creative people, and it was so much fun to work with you. And I so often, it's funny, I don't know about you. You work with a lot of people. I work with my clients, but for the most part, I'm by myself, and it's really lonely. And I forget how much fun it is to merchandise with somebody and bounce ideas off each other and
Yeah.
talk about like what displays you're working on. And I don't know, but like I really miss that. And I think talking to you that one day, it's like really was like, oh,
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of things that there's a special language that merchandisers speak, and it's a secret language where we understand each other, and we could, without even saying something, we get on this wavelength. And I think, I remember working with you and working on, say, floor moves in San Diego, and we would say one thing and then that would trigger another idea, and then we would just kind of go off and build upon these ideas and make something better. And then we would get excited. We're like, you know what, let's do it. Yes, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and let's just go ahead, let's move the sofa, let's move the bed, and let's just make it happen.
it was so much fun. I so miss it. I mean, I get a chance to, like, Erin and I work together. She's at Burt's Pharmacy. So I've been with merchandising with her for 6 years, but it's like by far and large, I don't have anybody. And I don't know about you because you're with Romans now. I don't know if
Right.
you merchandise side by side with, I know when I seen you at the shows, when you're buying, you're with other buyers, but when you
Yeah.
merchandise, are you by yourself or are you with the team?
I'm pretty much by myself, but there are people there that will assist and that are always interested in what I do and how I do it and why I do it. And I'm always trying to kind of share and transfer some of that know-how, because there's people within the store that have this, that are just intrigued, and there's a lot of that questioning that I think I see in them, that I remember. I remember myself being in their shoes and just being like, okay, what are you doing and how are you doing this and where do you come up with all this stuff? And so I'm always happy to share and explain, and a lot of it is pretty much conceptual.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you kind of start with this concept or this idea, and then you start to build upon it, and then you go shopping around the store to kind of create these
Totally.
stories. Yeah.
I call it a puzzle, like, like if I have not done the buying and I'm not the one that created the concept and I'm reimagining somebody else's inventory, it's like I always acute it to it's like a puzzle where it's like, okay, what do we have that's going to work together? And there's always the random items that you don't know. And Lisa from Stephen Young is hilarious because it's now like my favorite. It will reveal itself is what where those items are, where it's like, where does this go? Like, I really don't. And you always, as a merchandiser, there's always random shit that it's like, I don't know where this goes. Like, it doesn't go
Yeah.
with anything. And
Yeah.
it's like, it will reveal itself is
Yeah.
my new
Yeah.
favorite phrase.
Yeah, no, I love that. Or sometimes it's like, you know what? It's been here for 2 years. Maybe we should mark it down and get rid of it.
It's for the people that want to hold on to things. It's like, no, it will sell at some point. No, let it go.
Let it go.
Let it
Let it go.
go.
Yeah,
Okay, so
absolutely.
I want to hear a little bit more about when you were in IKEA in Sweden.
Yes.
What was your job title and what did you do? Because you signed on to stay there for 10 years.
No. It was It was a 2-year contract
Okay.
with a possibility of staying on for 5 years.
Why did I
But
think you were there for 10 years? Oh my God.
yeah, well, I was with the organization for about 11 years, but I
Okay.
was with the North American organization before I transferred. And so IKEA it's kind of tricky how it's organized, in the sense that every country, it's almost its own independent company.
Wow.
So when I left IKEA North America, I was literally terminated, and then I was rehired with IKEA of Sweden.
Wow. That's
And
fascinating.
yeah, it's like a separate company. It's like as if you're going from Pottery Barn and then you're going to go work at Target,
Oh.
yeah,
Do
or
they
West Down,
have the
whatever.
same standards though? I mean, like,
Yes and no. IKEA is a concept-based company. It's also a company that's organized. They call it a flat business model, and what that means is it's different than most of your hierarchical U.S. companies, where in U.S. there's someone at the top and then it trickles down.
yeah.
At IKEA, it's flat. It's basically a cross.
Wow.
So when I was part of the leadership team, it was essentially as if, say if, there was something that I wanted to do within my function, I would have to get agreement from the other business partners, to kind of come together in like a democratic way to make a business decision or a business movement. So it's
Wow.
different. There are pros and cons to it. I struggled with it when I first started, and that was because I just wasn't used to it that way.
Did you
And
struggle? Because it was like, why do I have to run past what I want to do past other people? That's
um
the first thing I'd be like,
yeah, no, but I think as time went on, I really learned to appreciate it, and I really learned to understand that the decisions being made for the business and for your team and the organization, you're doing it together.
yeah, it's more of
You're-
a team.
yeah, and that's what was slightly different versus, someone telling you at the top, we're doing this, period.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I'm doing it. I don't know why I'm doing it. I don't know maybe how to do it. And it's just different. And so I think I could appreciate, both ways. And of course it also had its cons. It took a long time to make a decision. It's also a bigger organization.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I interviewed somebody yesterday and she is a business coach and she works with like companies and stores, whatnot, that are not that like that's kind of fallen apart. The reins have gotten out of their person's hand, and the
Yeah.
whole team is doing their own thing, and they work on first and foremost what is the core values of the company.
Yeah.
So everyone knows right across, and then everything is done as a team. Like they meet every week
Yes.
for 90 minutes. It's mandatory. And there's like a set agenda. So you can't just go off on a tangent and side, but it's it is very conducive to a team environment
Absolutely.
versus the manager told me to do it. So I'm doing it. And
Yeah.
that I can see how that would have pros for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's you know I think in either format, you want to avoid everyone doing their own thing, and it's really important that people don't get into silos. And I think even in that structure, we still kind of struggled with that a little bit. But at the end of the day, everyone knew this is the goal, this is the vision, we are here to get this accomplished. And one of my coaches there, I remember, used a really good analogy. And it was from when NASA, they were working on getting the first man up in the moon. And maybe you probably heard about this. And there was a reporter or someone doing like an article about it. And so they were going around asking everybody what their role here is. And no matter the position or what they were doing, everyone said, our goal is to get a man on the moon. And that person even passed and asked someone that was a janitor that was, mopping the floors of the facility. Same answer. That person's goal is to get a man on the moon. And it is critical to have that unity and momentum with everyone.
And we all know from being in companies that, there's a million personalities, and you have the popular kids and the schleppy one that gets stuck doing all the crappy jobs. Like, is so not that structure. That's very much exactly what she was talking about yesterday. It was like, God, that's eye-opening, because I think that every company, if they did it sort of like that, or at least knowing you all are what the common goal is, other than your monthly goal or your hourly sales or whatever, like really what's the goal? That's amazing. So what did you do when you went over there? What was your title? What were you responsible for?
So my title was Communication and Interior Design Manager, and it was a leadership position within the steering group. And under me, I would oversee the interior design manager, visual merchandising manager, graphics communication. We had a role that was called activities, and then the carpenter.
I'm going to ask about that one. I need a breakdown on this.
And then under those, they had their team under them. So I had about, it kind of varied from time to time, anywhere from 4 to 5 direct reports to maybe 7 or 8, and maybe about anywhere from 20 indirect to up to 40 at any given time as it fluctuated. So together with the steering group and with the leadership team, we would kind of strategize what would be our short-term goals, our long-term goals, what was the 1-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan. And then once we build that and decide that.
You plan that far out?
Yeah, we would. Yeah. And based on that, then we would disseminate the information then to our teams and make sure that they felt empowered and comfortable and confident to then share that vision and that goal with their teams. So so that's kind of essentially what my role was. And when I first started with them, I started in San Francisco, and the San Francisco store was one of the top volume stores within the US organization. And so I moved around. And one of the things that when I started was, one of the deals, or not the deal, but the agreement was that if they were to bring me on, I would be training for 1 year. And after that, I would have to relocate to wherever there was my open position within the US. And this was within a store unit.
Wow, so you don't have a choice. Like, you don't have a choice. Wow.
Yeah.
Was that a hard commitment to make? Did you at all think like, I don't know,
I was excited about it. At the time, I was single. I didn't have any ties anywhere. And there was a part of me that was excited for the adventure. And there was a part of me that I think when the recruiter connected me with IKEA, there was also 2 other companies that I was talking with. And this recruiter I had met through Z Gallery, and this person would call me every so often. And I was always like, I'm not interested. So when I was, and I'm like, well, let me see what else is out there. And I was looking, and I went to IKEA, I was like, this is like, I'll go do it, but I don't want to work there. I've never even been inside an IKEA prior to that.
You're all
so
it.
I just didn't know. I think I had this preconceived idea about it. And when I went and I met with the team, I was so blown away that I had no idea what the organization stood for, their values, the culture. I remember leaving the interview after, I was there for 3 hours.
Holy shit.
I left the interview, because we just kept talking and we walked the floor and different stuff and sharing ideas and concepts and all that stuff, that when I got into the car, I called a recruiter. I said, I want this job. I really, really want it. And so so I had a couple of other interviews with like the country manager and other roles. And yeah, I got it and I took it.
I mean, it's like the dream job. It's funny. When Lolly and Pop, that's up in San Francisco, when I left Sweet XO, Lolly and Pop had called me and started to go after me to be their buyer. And
I hope this is okay, by the way.
I would be thinking something, but I didn't even think about it. Of course it is. Don't forget, you're also on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I was like so down with it. I'm like, absolutely. But Dave and I had only been dating for a little while. And when I could see the writing on the wall that I was going to get an offer, I literally backed out before they could offer it to me. I'm like, hey, I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I don't want to be, because they were like, I was like, you can't do it remote. And they're like, no, they're all about in the same office space, like being together as a group. And I'm like, yeah, I can't. And I because it was like, I knew something. That's why I was like asking you, like, were you worried about it? Because it's great that you were single. Because if you were not single and you had a partner, it's like, did your partner go with you, or do you, like, okay, I'm going now? I mean,
yeah.
Oh my God. So now you're at Romans, and it's funny because I interviewed Denick Tyler, who's the owner, and then I interviewed Lindsay, who's the rep. I think you've met Lindsay at Fine Lines. But I was talking about your concepts at Romans. So I want to get into the concepts, because I want to find, like, you and I concept things very closely together. So like, I think a lot of people, when I say I buy in concepts, like when I do the show, which, by the way, are you going to Atlanta?
I'm not, but I'm going to Vegas.
Okay, good. I'm going to see you there.
Yeah. And I think it's because we're going to go to New York later.
That's good. I'm leaving for Atlanta Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay.
But I haven't been to, but I try and explain to people, when I shop this, like the first day of the show, I don't write anything. I just go to get an overview, because you start to see like trends that are coming out, mushrooms, the unicorns, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like I kind of get an idea for that. And then I start like building my buys. And I've always said, I don't know about you, but I do not believe in buying super deep in one company. Like, I know there's like choose company, you could pick a lot of different things and it goes a lot of different ways, but a lot of companies, like, I just want to cherry pick, and I will cherry pick certain items and create a concept like that. And then tie in other stuff, so that's kind of how I concept. And then, it rolls out to the store. What is your process when you go and create your own concepts? And now that you're building these groupings and Romans, which I will tell you, after going there, it's so fucking extensive. Like, that store is massive, and you've done amazing job. I mean, everything from the glassware to, I mean, like, really, like robes and apparel and like personal care and the curated groups. I mean, just really, really well done, Fabian.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, it's a team effort, of course, and so everyone is kind of involved in it, but the process, I think, and there's a lot of it that I bring with me, and it's all my experience from working at Z Gallery and building the concepts there, because I was also up in San Francisco at the buying office and working with the buyers there and the prototypes, and coming up with the collections that we're going to show the next season or the next year, and bringing everyone in and walking them through it. So kind of taking that experience and marrying it with everything I learned from IKEA. So this small boutique business to a big box retailer, I feel comfortable that I'm able to do both very well. And I think now when I bring it to the Romans, I kind of cherry pick from both experiences. And I always start with and this may sound confusing, but I start with the end result. I
Mm.
start with the very end and I work my way backwards.
So what is the very end? The actual concept or?
The no, the very end is, what do I want the customer to walk away with? How do I want them to
Love
feel?
that philosophy.
And so at the end, and I've heard people say that where there was a goal that when I first started, I wanted to do it, and it was based on the conversations that I had with the leadership team there, and that was what they were trying to raise their average ticket. And the only way to raise their average ticket and check is to get more repeat visits and to give them what they want when they want it. And so the only way to do that is vitality. Change the store up over and over so that you give them a reason to come back. And now we get people that be like, oh my God, I come in here, it's always different, it's always changing, I'm excited. And
Thank you.
yeah, and
Thank you.
that is, I think, a secret key tip for anyone to get your visitors and customers to come on back and wanting more. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. So I start with that, and I start with the end result. What is it that I want them to walk away with? And then I start to work backwards. And then I look at, okay, what is selling? What isn't selling? What fits within the brand, within the store? You know, I struggle with also because I come from a home furnishings retail environment, and now I work at a very unique bookstore. So I have to kind of balance that, and there's a part of me that also thinks when people, when people tell me, Fabian, we're just a bookstore, and I'm like, no, we're not, and get rid of that thinking. We're a business. And how, what story and what experience are we going to give the customer? And so then I kind of start towards that, and then I work backwards, and then I start to create, okay, this is what's selling, this is what's not selling, here are the trends. So you kind of start throwing everything into it, and then it starts to slowly, it's almost like bread where it starts rising. This concept will start to build itself. And then once you have a basic idea, then we start to narrow in, okay, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to go for. And then we go out and look for some of that stuff, and look for those price points, and look for that product assortment that's going to fit.
So what happens if you come up with some type of concept and the stuff doesn't exist? Like that would fall into,
Yeah.
whatever, like say, I don't know, it's a Martian gardener. What happens if you don't find those items?
You know what? It's out there. I think it's out there. I think, there are products that we've carried that are top sellers every year. We've had it, and you just reinvent it, and you give it new life. So, I think it does exist, and I think part of the ingredient is understanding the trends and what's happening. So you kind of start to build, okay, this is what we're seeing out there. This is kind of what is happening out in society, out in culture, out in the buying behaviors of the customer. So it's out there. You just need to then focus. Okay, what is it that you want to say? What is it that you want to do? And then be confident to go with that.
I have to back up because the philosophy of changing things often and giving, I never thought about it as far as like, it's always been the customer experience. That's always what I think of, but I never thought about what is the customer going to walk away from. And that is why they come back to your store. And I've told stores because I've gone into stores and it's like, how long has this been here for? And it's like, maybe 9 months. Like, because I always say, like, your customers walk by your door. For the ones that aren't coming in, it's like, is there anything new? And if it looks exactly the same, why are they going to come back in? Like, they were there 2 weeks ago, and it's like, or a month ago, and it looks exactly the same. So it's like, all right, they'll literally keep going and changing not just your windows, but where the location of the product is. And so it's always something fresh and something new and something exciting for people to find. Like, I think that's really hard for retailers to, like some retailers to grasp. I think that some people don't think it's worth the money to have either a merchandiser come in and do it, or have like their team do it, because it does cost payroll,
Yeah.
but it is what sells. That is what truly
Right.
is going to drive your business.
Yeah, and that's understandable. And you know, I also faced some of that you know, conversation, you know, at Romans, because it is a small company, it's family owned. It doesn't have the deep pockets as say as IKEA or even Z Gallery. But I think, you know, putting your business hat on, you know, yes, what is it going to cost if you do it, but what is it going to cost if you don't do it? And kind of balancing both and understanding that, you know, the experience and the visual presentation of the store, that's also your silent salesperson. That's selling as well.
Yes.
So you need to understand the complete width or the breadth of your store, from your team to your merchandise assortment to the displays. They all need to work hand in hand to have a really strong business. And yeah, it's I think it's critical.
So we're going into show season now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll see you in Vegas. I'm bummed. I thought you were going to be in Atlanta. I haven't been to Atlanta in almost 8 years, I think, since
Okay.
since I was a Sweet XO.
Yeah.
So I'm going in for such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited to, because I'm going to shop around for like a couple different people.
Yeah, we went last year, and there were some new lines that we picked up, but we also felt that it was very similar to Vegas.
Because it's IMC.
Yeah, so we said, okay, so our plan now is kind of go every other year, but then we would then explore the other shows. So that's where we're going to do Vegas this year, and then we're going to do the New York show.
Are you going to do Shop Objet?
I'm not sure if it's. I'm not sure.
I want to do that show so bad. And for those of you who don't know about it, it's a show that it started in France, and it's like super like high design. It's stuff that you do not see, but it is not inexpensive, is my understanding.
Yeah.
So I can't do it because I don't really have the stores that could support those kind of price points.
Yeah, and it's funny how that show has grown over time too, because it used to be tiny and now it's kind of just, I think, evolved. But yeah, so we're gonna do that, and yeah.
I'm excited. So what do you tell me a little bit, if you don't mind indulging me? Well, I don't want to give away your secrets for what's coming up. Talk to me about your concepts that you have right now going. My favorite, I'm going to tell everybody before you tell them, is the conspiracy theory, UFO. Like, so tell everybody about some of the concepts that you have there. Cause it was, like I said, it was such a pleasure to go into that store. It takes a lot to gobsmack me, where it's like, where you see things, and we see it all. I mean, we really do. And especially because I got my foot in the wholesale door and the retail door, like I see so much. So it really takes a lot for me to see really well curated merchandise sections where I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. And not just with you, because I love you, but I mean, seriously, it's really good, Fabian.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, yeah, there is the conspiracy theory one, and that one, you know, kind of evolved with, we were trying to reinvigorate some of the camping things that we had that sold really well. And because we're close to JPL, we do get a lot of people that have like the space interest, and we're also close to Caltech. So, you know, of course, when I started, there was, you know, a camping theme, there was an adventure theme. And so, you know, as time went on, we're like, let's evolve it, let's kind of change it up. And so it kind of morphed into this conspiracy theory, where it has this very camping mountain feel, but then we threw in the UFO space theme. So
what else is it? Bigfoot is in it as well, right?
Bigfoot is in there, yeah. So there's like, all that stuff and alien abduction, because we have all this alien stuff and spaceman and UFO and night lights. And so we kind of get an assortment of products to kind of create this story. And I wish I could share the storyboard, because I really work hard in creating a storyboard with the assortment of products. And I always do a cover page, because I always feel like this is the title of the movie. Like, this is the feeling. Like when you see Stranger Things, or if you see, it kind of evokes this feeling. And so I do that to share with everyone there at the store.
What was the cover page for the UFO one?
It's literally a man in the middle of the night and this is an illustration, but it's a silhouette of a male figure in a forest at night getting pulled up and abducted from a spaceship. And so it has like this retro theme. And so, yeah, so that's kind of it. And then I go and find all the products that we have. It could be from corksicle bottles, where it's like the woodland theme with the camouflage. And then there's other stuff that we start to build from different vendors, Kickerland, or yeah.
So do you put it, because I try and cap mine. I mean, unless it's a really big section, I try and have only X amount of SKUs, because what I've come across where, it's this like, okay, so one store does cactuses.
Yes.
Cactus thing. And it's like, okay, some tabletops, some this and that. I left and I came back and there's socks in there, there's candy, there's real cactuses, then the tabletop. And like, it was like a garage sale of cactus.
Yeah.
Like, what is your theory on that? I'm interested in hearing that. And how do you keep it so it doesn't turn into a garage sale?
Yeah, it's I always use the word edit and balance. And I also, when I'm walking the floor, talking within the team, I also kind of explain from the customer's point of view and really try to maintain the shopping experience. So I try to keep some of those categories together. And I have a core assortment of products that will support the story. And of course, there are going to be socks that have camping or this or pins or stickers. And I said, you have to be careful that you don't junk it up.
Thank you.
So always be careful and always stand back and edit. Am I saying too much? Am I saying too little? And you have to balance it. And then sales are going to happen. So things are going to sell out, or you're going to be out of this, or this thing is not shipping until a month later. So, and it could be your major anchor. So that's where you have to kind of, the story will ebb and flow, and you just have to just work with it over time. But like any display within a store, it's almost like a pencil. You're gonna, when you first do it, it's gonna be nice and sharp, but after it gets, used a little bit, it gets dull and you have to sharpen it again. So you go back and then you sharpen the pencil.
I love that analogy. That's amazing. So what are
sometimes you go erase things.
Yeah, I have no eraser, by the way. What are some of the other concepts that you have upstairs? Was like this beautiful mix of like home decor that was it felt kind of Joshua Tree, but it felt also kind of like New Yorkish. Like what is that concept?
It's changed. I'm trying to remember what it was when you were up there.
Pottery, there was like
so then upstairs is the space where we could show a good bulk of our gift. And there are some categories up there. So there's the bath department, like bath and body. There's accessories, which is purses, jewelry, handbag, robes, apparel. And so I try to incorporate some other elements and textures and colors to kind of bring those categories together. And it changes from time to time, because say come Christmas time, it's completely different. That's the holiday shop. So all that stuff gets completely, so then that whole space, we completely wipe it clean and start over. So like the whole back Yeah, so the whole back wall where we have pillows and purses with some little decor accessories and wall art and stuff, that will be all become ornaments.
Where does that all go then?
It gets repurposed into another story.
Wow, that's some,
Yeah,
you guys sell that many ornaments that you have a whole holiday shop?
yeah, yeah.
How many trees do you guys do?
Maybe about 20, 24.
What?
Yeah,
24 Christmas trees? I mean,
between
that
20 and
Romans
24.
is huge. All in that space or spread throughout the store?
Spread throughout.
Okay, I was like, wow,
Yeah,
good tree
yeah.
farm.
But some of the trees are not fully decorated because we don't have the depth of the ornaments to do a full tree and still stock it. But I have started to incorporate some specific trees out in the different stories. So like last year when we had a theme called Northern Lights, we had some ornaments around it. There was another one that was Royal Botanic Gardens that had a lot of the rifled paper and like a lot of the floral stuff, say from Cody Foster and some of those vendor where it had a very opulent garden type of feel, but with a holiday twist to it.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, it just gets repurposed. And what's funny is that customers will come in and be like, "Oh my God, this is new. This I haven't seen this." I'm like, "We've had it for over a year."
That is the other trick, that a reason
Yeah.
being to change your store around and reinvent stuff is exactly that reason, because you will have customers that are there once a week and don't see it, and then you move it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, is this new? It's like, no, it's been the same. And that's a huge reason to move your floor around,
Yeah. Yeah.
period.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I mean, you know, I it's not like we change the entire store every month. I mean, I change the store, I mean, a big move twice a year, spring, summer, fall, winter. And then I've learned to understand where the hot spots or the key locations are within the store. Those areas I'll change a bit more frequently. And then there are other areas that are more seasonal that are by the cash wrap or the counters where those will change periodically as things sell. So I think it's really taking this helicopter view of your store and really understanding how your customers move through the store, where they buy, where they pick stuff up from, and then using your product assortment in those key locations. And I think people will start to get a perception that, wow, this thing is always changing. I'm like, I really just changed two areas. Or it could be you took a colorway and flipped it around to something different, but it's essentially the same thing.
When you do these big floor moves, because when we do our moves for Burt's Pharmacy, we'll flip the whole store, but it's one little store. I mean, it's a big pharmacy, but it's nowhere near the size and scale of Romans. But we do it on a day where it's closed, where we can go in and change the whole thing and not worry about having where customers start. How long does it take you to do that change? And then what are you doing overnights? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, we don't have the budget or the luxury to do the overnight. And then now with just, staff, we're struggling to find people and hire people that, no, I mean, the past couple of years we just do it during business hours. I mean, I'll come in a little early. I'll probably come in at 6 or 7. I've been fortunate enough to get some freelancers to come and help me, but it's a team effort. So we kind of time it so it's almost like this assembly line. So we start to bring all of our stuff in that's at an offsite location all the holidays. So the receiving team will go and get it, say from like on the weekend, we'll get it ready on the dock. So that Monday morning, we'll have a separate team, the staff start to unbox it, and we'll get folding tables and we'll lay everything out. Then we come in and then we start kind of placing everything. But then we kind of have an idea of what of where it's going to go, because all that's kind of planned already.
Yeah.
Also, the week prior, I start to relocate and repurpose some of the stuff to clear it. So it's a process, and it's a transition, but we do it during business hours. And again, there are pros and cons to it, but I don't know why people will always come to where you're at. I'm on a ladder hanging something, and they're like,
Yep.
or say I have a cart full of just stuff. And they're digging through it. And I'm like, you have the whole store over here, but you have to come.
Fred Siegel used to say, energy creates energy. And he would say, open your boxes on the floor. People want to see that. Not to mention, it's like your staff is busy, they're moving, because you know what it's like when you walk in a store and nothing's going on. There's no music on. The person's sitting behind the counter, and it's like, even shows, like there's even showrooms I walk into, and it's like, are you open? Is it okay? And it's always so weird and awkward versus like where there's energy and there's stuff going on, like, that totally is how people shop. It's like, I think that's, I love that. It's challenging. Like when we used to do moves in Anthro, I still keep my Anthro hours. So like 6 a.m. until 10 are the big shifts, because it starts to get, that much movement of that much stuff, unless you're setting a place that has nothing in it, gets super dicey when it starts like little piles of things all over the store. And it's like,
it drives me crazy.
It's so hard. And it's like, I worry about not the customer so much. I'm super klutzy. If you don't remember how much I break, I'm more afraid of me tripping over something and breaking something. And it's just, you start to add people in there, and it's like, but people, energy creates energy, man. Like everybody, that's solely, like, seriously.
Yeah. And I've become, a very structured person. I need structure. I need processes in order for me to function. I don't like piles and messes. I get crazy. So I really spend a lot of time pre-planning. I'll do it on AutoCAD. I'll do it on SketchUp. I'll look and, okay, this is going to go here. This is going to go there. I'll cross-reference my storyboards so that when I walk in, I feel confident. This is going there. This is going here. Put this here. Take this down. Put this away. Because, and again, as much as possible, there are things where I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. I'm not sure. Put that over there. Yeah.
It will reveal itself.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you could always, there's only so much that you could plan for, and then you go deep, you just dive into the deep end of the pool, and let's see what happens. Yeah.
When you roll up, is your packet like the anthropology visual packets where it's like this thick?
No, it's tiny. I think I've come to, I don't like fluff. So I'll take out fluff. There is a time and place for some of the fluff, but when it comes to the storyboards and the planning, I try to be as just, this is all you need to know. I try to be simple, clear, and precise as possible. And I always tell everyone, they're just guidelines. It's not black and white. We don't have to stick to it. I'm like, be okay with the gray. It's gray.
Be okay with the gray.
Yeah, be okay. I'm like, I thought it would go here, but you know what? It doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna change it. And yeah.
It's like, I think that people think, it's a planogram and it has to go like that, but there's always something that's going to come up, like the supply chain. It's like Christmas last year, Words Pharmacy. It's like, out of my entire mud pie order, I think I had 40 SKUs. I got buffalo plaid napkins and a butter dish. That's it. You try and build a fucking Christmas display around, and then it was like, oh well, it is what it is. We're gonna make everyday stuff look like Christmas. And actually, the crazy thing is that actually we ended up selling more older stuff and like, stuff, because we reinvented it, and we got so short shipped that it forced us to look at products a different way. And you like all these ornaments that come in. So it's like, guess what? We're putting snoozies on the Christmas tree, and we're putting it over there by the spa area. And it's like, guess what?
Yeah. But you know what? This is the other thing that I learned, where one, here I am doing it, but at IKEA, I was the one leading it. And working with creative people, there's a lot of emotion that goes involved into the work they do, and respectfully so. And I've come to learn and recognize that, you know, when things don't always happen, or where there's all these obstacles, I've come to recognize that that's really when creativity happens. And when I had visual merchandisers or it was my visual merchandising manager or their teams, and they were struggling with this, like, this is what we planned, it's not here, blah, blah, blah. Like, then you know what? Now this is really when your creativity is going to be put to the test.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, they will come up with something even more brilliant. And they were like, oh my God, this is, you know what? It worked out. It always does.
Yeah.
And I think I'm like, there's a lesson, and that's where you really challenged yourself to really think outside the box and really grow and come up with something incredible. Because I think the other part of being a visual merchandiser is also being a troubleshooter.
Oh,
how do you get a square peg into a round hole?
yep. The puzzle.
Yeah, the puzzle. Exactly.
It's and it's like, that's what, to be honest, that's what I love more than anything. It's like that challenge of like that, seriously, that Christmas, and that's all I got. It was like, all right, I'm gonna make this look damn good. And it's like, okay, what are we doing? And you start shopping the rest of the store, and it's like, and then it turns out amazing. It's like, why? I guess I didn't even need that other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it could even be, you know, say like if you were stuck with these blue pillows from summer, like, oh my God, I have all these blue pillows to like
Hanukkah.
do with it. Hanukkah, or it could be like, I think what one of the stories was, I did this, you know, icy Christmas. Okay, there's blue ice, and come up with icicles and stuff, and it all falls into place. And
it's when you're able to look at it like that, and like really, because I think what happens is people get really, no, it's this, and it's like they get very because it's, let's be honest, it's subjective. It's all subjective. Right. So, but I think that a lot of people get, they're almost their worst enemy, because it's like you can't picture it anywhere else. It's like, but it's this section. It's like, no, it's not anymore.
Yeah.
We're moving it over here.
Yeah. Or it could even be that there is something where it's like, God, we have to carry this because we sell so much of it. I'm like, oh. And how can you give it life again? It's like, okay, I show it here, I show it over there. And sometimes you just got to it sells, and you got to keep it.
I'm going to tell you a little story. I don't know if you've heard it on the podcast yet. Anthropology has velocity items. So it's the top 10 items in every single department. And as a top tier store, you have to make sure your numbers are up with the other, if not beating the other top tier store. So Rock Center was always our top tier store.
Yeah.
And there is a velocity item, wall decor, and I fucking hated it. And everyone knows this story. It's a fish, a beaded fish hook. Like it's a wall decor with blue beads that has hooks that you hang keys on or whatever. It's this big.
Yeah.
I fucking hated it. And it was like, it was like the number one velocity. And I hated it so much. I would hide it. I would like throw them in a basket, shove it underneath a bookcase or somewhere. And every single Monday I got called out. Michelle, what's happening? Where's the fish wall decor? Because it's obviously it's like, is it not on the floor? Like that you had like 3 pieces sell, and Rock Center sold 25. And it's like, I don't know. I'll have to go look for it. It's like, but that taught me a lesson. Yeah. Now when I have something, and there are things that, believe me, I hate, even shit that I bought where I'm like, I know it sells, but it's like, I hate it. Yeah. But now I take a different mindset. Now it's like, okay, I'm going to like, let's see how good we can make this look. And it's like, I literally like, I have to make nice with it. And then it's like, okay, but that was that lesson. It was like hiding that fucking blue beaded fish hook.
Do they still have it? I was there today, actually.
I'm willing to bet yes. I mean, it was like, I'm trying to remember what one of the things at Z Gallery that we always those dumb wind up toys at the cash wrap, those long-legged
Yeah.
wire things.
Yes.
Like,
The critters. They're
yes,
called critters.
yes,
Yeah.
those. Like, it's just like one of those things where it was like, it kept selling. And then same
Yeah.
thing, it got reinvented every single different season. That damn fucking went
No,
from the
totally.
fast shop to, I mean, like, you name it, that's, but it's like one of those things. I mean, I in a smaller store, I feel like you can like let it go. Like there's a certain point to cut it off. But I think with companies like that, with that many doors, like it's like, if it's selling, it's not something that
Yeah, exactly. And on the flip side of that, when I started at Romans, there was, and we were working on kind of growing the merchandise program and changing up, how we buy and stuff. There were things where, working with my boss, where say I would want to get something to create the story, and she's like, but we're not going to sell it. I said, yes, we're not going to sell 20 of them. We're going to buy one or two, but this will kind of help to sell everything else. So it kind of is the anchor. It's the main story to help. I said, this we're not going to sell. We'll probably sell one. If not, it may even go on sale. But it's going to help to create that theme and create the story to sell all the other stuff that goes with it. So you also have to, make a conscious decision on your product. So it could go either way.
I think like with like 180 degrees and Glitterville, some of the really big pieces.
Yeah.
I've always said, like, yes, that's seriously an investment, but you will be able to reinvent this thing seriously. See, like Masan A, who I'm with up north, she bought a couple really big statement pieces from, like, I think we've got the Ferris wheel, we have the Eiffel Tower, it's big ass pieces.
Yeah.
That Ferris wheel has been everything from a Pride Ferris wheel to a French, we've got a French drink sign on it with like hydrangeas around it, ribbon through it. I mean, that's been seriously the best. And even smarter, which is I didn't even think about, because she started doing the Glitterville big pieces, like the big character pieces. So she did the cotton candy lady. She rents it out for parties.
Oh,
how brilliant is that? Like,
that is brilliant. Yeah.
They sign an insurance waiver, they put a deposit down, she goes to birthday parties, she goes to bridal showers, but that's the centerpiece. And it's literally that, just renting it has paid for it 4 times over.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great idea. And
right?
Yeah, we also bought some big pieces for Halloween and for Christmas, and some of the Glitterville stuff was kind of our entrance, where we hung it above the entranceways into our Christmas shop. So then when you're coming up the stairs, you see these huge figures with all this garland and candy garland and all this stuff, and the lights are on it. And that's that feeling where I said, what do I want them to walk away with? And what's that experience? And I want them to be like, wow, this is magical. This is, this is fun and exciting. I want to see more. I want to go in. And then you walk in and you see the tables and everything, twinkle lights and all the stuff. Like it's just
storytelling.
Yeah. It's the story.
Where, because I know you go out and get inspired. Where are some of your favorite places to go get inspired by other people's visuals?
Oh, wow. Well, here in LA, or just kind of in general, because there were so many stories that from living in so many places and traveling. I mean, there's Rogers Garden.
Yep.
It's I think they do a fantastic job. Fishizetti in New York City. There was this place I went to when I was in Italy called Corso Como. I also, if I can go, I'll look on the website and see what they're doing. And they sometimes do YouTube videos. Where else do I go? Sometimes even Crate and Barrel. I think they, or even Anthro. Like what I do sometimes, and I ask my boss, where I'm like, I need to reinvigorate. I need to get some inspiration. So I go on this, what I call retail safari. And all I do is go all to these retail stores and explore and discover Even some of the shops that you go to, Serendipity, I think it's
Yeah.
Sherman Oaks. So yeah, I've been in there. So
I was just there today.
yeah, I always look at the Instagram posts from different people. I'm like, okay, I save it. I'm like, I'm gonna put it on my list and I'm gonna go there. There's a store down, I think in San Diego. I think it's called Pigment. That
Oh
my
my
boss.
God, I'm obsessed with that
Yeah,
store.
yeah. So again, there's all these stores that, and there's more. Of course, now that I have to think of them, I can't. But yeah, I go on just a retail safari and just
I'm
go
gonna
explore.
ask you to do me a favor and write a
Yeah.
list of retail safari stores that
Absolutely.
we will include in the show notes, because I know you'll think of some more now, but I think
Yeah.
a lot of people, everyone wants to see where you get inspired and what we
Right.
see and what stands out to us as visual
Mhm.
merchandisers.
Yeah.
And I think if you can do that list, I think that people would love to go on your virtual safari.
Yeah, absolutely.
Retail virtual safari.
Yeah, there's actually a friend of mine who he does the windows every year at Bergdorf. And
Oh,
so I know I call him. I mean, they start planning like months in advance. So and I don't know if I should say this, but I call him and I'm like, have you had do you have your stories? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what is it? And so he'll start to tell me. I'm not gonna say who it is because I don't want him to get in trouble. But because I get inspired and we start to go off of different ideas and I'm like, oh,
huh.
that's incredible, or that's brilliant. And so I like these little teasers because it'll spark something,
Yes.
and I think Rogers Garden, they do these little teasers, or they'll drop these hints, and I love it. I start
Halloween,
going
man.
crazy. Yeah.
Halloween, I mean, the part of the brilliant thing to me is that they don't just reinvent it, they seriously completely reinvent. Like Mad Scientist one year, and the next year was like the nursery rhymes that had gone wrong,
Yeah.
like Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf and I mean, for those of you who don't know the store, Google Rogers Gardens or go on their Instagram. If you Google just the images, what most of it will come up is going to be Halloween, and that's what we're talking about. Their Halloween, they shut down this one space. They must shut it down a month in advance. And it literally, it's, I'm not shitting you. It is Disneyland style, Disneyland, that level of display, which, I mean, I think my mom took us there when we were little, because my mom was a single mom and she didn't have a lot of money to take us to like Disneyland and this and that. So every year she would take us. I mean, this is when I was, because it's been around 50 some odd years, but every year when we were little, she would take us to Rogers Gardens for the day and we'd go walk through Halloween. And that's how big of a deal it's been for 50 plus years. But now they bus in Japanese tourists. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
I always go after it's been open for a couple weeks, because I mean, like it's like a rock concert. People are like waiting in line, and it's like, oh my God,
I actually
so
go.
worth it.
I get the invitations for the pre-VIP night. I go that I want to see it fresh and new.
Yeah.
And, yeah. And so they do an incredible job. And of course, if they have a team, I'm sure they have the budget. Not everyone could do that. But I think it really, shows that the experience and the emotional connection that your customer feels will get them coming back and will get them talking. And there is no better marketing than word of mouth. And I think doing it through your merchandising and your product assortment, it's the best way.
I love that. Okay, I'm going to ask you another question that I think every store goes through, and it'll be relatively short because I know we're almost at an hour. How do you train your staff on maintaining the display? Either between the weekends, because I know at Anthropologie, it's like I would lose my mind. We'd set up on a Friday, it would be perfect stock amounts, whatever. You leave and you come back on Monday and it's trashed. No one's restocked it. Like I would go. That's partly why I'm not there anymore, because I didn't handle those conversations very well.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, and I still face that. I think it's we're never going to answer that question fully, but I think it's just constant communicating, setting the expectations, and there was and I think it's also understanding that person's experience level, and also what they do, and so I kind of take that into consideration. I also really try to understand how that person learns. That's one of the things that I think I took away from IKEA is everyone has different learning styles. So there are some people that will get it. There are some people that will be like, okay, you need to show me, or you need to tell me. And so and you could typically pick up on those cues based on how they answer some of your questions, because there are people that respond with, well, I feel we should do this, or I think we should do this, and that's kind of how I determine how I'm going to share my knowledge with them. Feeling, you're probably going to have to show them. If they say I think, you probably just need to tell them and they will understand. But it's a combination of everything, and I think you use all the different tools that the organization has to kind of share that knowledge, and it's just going to take time and practice. But at the end of it, I just say just keep it straight rows, keep it simple, keep everything tight and centered, um, and yeah, try your best to recover from the weekend. But things will happen. They had three call outs, or they were short staffed, and so you have to take that with a grain of salt, and know that when you're back, then you kind of work towards recovering it. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
Yeah,
it kind of varies.
I mean, I think every store goes through it, and even ones that don't have a merchandiser, but it's like how, and I think that your comment about how people learn differently, I think that's dead on. And
Mhm.
I've realized that with the people, when I work in stores and explain to them certain things, I mean, it's like, I'd said to somebody, because the complaint was they never do it right or something like that. I'm like, but you have to remember, like, they've never done this before. Like, this is
Right.
literally their first job or the first time doing something like this. So you have to think about, like, if you've never done it and you're not creative, like, it's a different part of the brain. And it's
It
also like,
is.
once you take the time and explain it to somebody and kind of take them under your wing, and you're both educating them and also you're grooming them, and
Right.
creating a teachable moment.
Yeah.
But those teachable moments were out the door by the time I was at the end of my day.
Yeah, the other thing is that, and it's funny, I actually spent some time with someone today. Is there is also a trick to transferring know-how, and so so there is, a effective and also an ineffective way of sharing that knowledge and teaching that. So it's not just, there are some great merchandisers that I've worked with, but they haven't been very good teachers. And that's just kind of, and that's okay. It's not that they're bad or good. It's just that's where everyone has their strengths and the weaknesses and what they're good at. So it's yeah, it kind of varies.
I love talking to you. I literally could talk to you for hours. I'm so grateful that you came on to do this, because I think, like I said, a lot of people reached out, and I think that that this part of the business is still, if you don't have a merchandiser, you don't know some of the tricks that we know as merchandisers, or the
Mhm,
thought process of how we work. And
mhm.
it's a very different than a management style. I mean, even if
Right.
you are a manager, but it's a very different side of the brain, and it's a very different way of how we do things. And I think that
Mhm.
people find it fascinating. And I was super excited to have you agree to come do this with me, because I know you're really busy, but I adore you and I love talking.
Thank you. No, I mean, and honestly, this is where I kind of nerd out and geek out. I love this, and so yes, I wanted to do it already from a while ago, and there were other projects that I was doing that I'm still doing now. But this is the stuff that I really love, and this is where I when I came back to the US to start a new career in set design, and I hated it because this is kind of what I love doing. And so when I would go shopping for these shows or for these sets, I'm like, I miss this. And so
Retail's
that's kind of where,
back in.
yeah. And then I said, you know what? I mean, I know that I'm a risk taker. I'm very comfortable with change. I tried it. It didn't work out. Yeah, it didn't work out. It's okay. And I came back to what I'm comfortable with and with what I know. So,
Well, it's funny you
yeah.
say that because you're open to change, but you have to realize what you do as a job is 100% change every single day.
Retail is change.
Yep.
Retail. If you don't change, you will it will end.
Yes.
Yeah, it's and I think I've seen it, you know, big companies, even if you don't change, if you get this ego that, well, this is the way we've always done it, if you say that or think that or hear that, that's the beginning of the end.
Well,
never say this is the way we've always done it.
It's what's happened. What I realize now that I'm this age is that part of that is you don't know any different, or you are, to be honest, you're not comfortable trying something new. So it's a lot easier to say, this is the way we've always done it.
Right.
I've realized that, especially, you know, like when the pandemic happened, I've said this a million times, it's like the pandemic, everyone who is, we do it this way, this is the way we've always done it. And the same people that weren't comfortable going live, getting on Instagram, doing any kind of social media and putting themselves out there, a lot of those people, unfortunately, are not open anymore. And right behind it is this whole new generation of people who are like, I'll try this, that are like putting themselves out there and like are willing to just change and move directions. And I mean, it's crazy, but it's the we've always done it this way. I think part of it is also we don't know, or we're not comfortable how to do it any other way.
Yeah.
I'm like always the first person, because Fred had always said to me a long time ago, it's like, you have to, because a lot of people I think also worry about what other people are doing. Well, that person's doing this and that person's like, Fred used to say, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. You worry about you. And you keep your eye on the prize and you keep pushing your ball forward and you keep evolving, because if you don't, and you keep looking behind what everybody else is doing, you're literally going to be obsolete before you know it.
Yeah, exactly. And I do have to say, and I know we, you know, again, we could ramble on for another hour, but because I love this, but listening to your podcast with Danique, that guy,
amazing.
Oh my God. I was so inspired. I got chills. It was amazing. And there were so many things that I took away from it that he inspired me. And there were things that even what, you know, how he gives back. I think that's the biggest thing I took away, that he allows his time just to open up. And so that's something that I want to find and implement to, you know, maybe I can give all this time, but I could spare a half hour once a week or twice a week, you know, just to kind of share and talk about this stuff.
Yeah, I think that, you know, like I said in the podcast, I believe so heavily into giving back, and whether you're a big company or little company, time or money or whatever, like whatever it is, like, and man, Tyler like walks the walk. I mean, even my husband was like, that was seriously impressive. That was impressive. Like it just, and the biggest for me, honestly, was the fact that he has a Calendly open that anybody, any entrepreneur, any like anybody can dial up a half an hour with him. And he will mentor you for that was huge.
But I think once I processed what he was doing, I was like, you know what? This is brilliant. Actually, it's not him teaching, it's him learning. He's going to take away probably more by opening himself up and having people come to him. He will probably take away and learn more than probably what he will. I mean, I think what he will share, because there are times, you know, where I've gone and traveled and met and kind of worked with different teams. There's a lot that I take away, and I'm their leader. So I don't know. It's I thought it was brilliant. So
Thank you. I was really, I'm not kidding you. I wasn't joking when I said I nagged Lindsay. Like, I was like literally DMing her, and then I'd see her at the show, and it was like, okay, I really want to get Tyler on. Like, come on. Like,
yeah.
poor Lindsay. I like bugged the hell out of her. But
Yeah.
that was, thank you. I was really
Yeah.
happy with that. And I'm really excited because that was a good one.
Good.
Just as this one is, and you are. But
Thank you.
let's try and if you are going to do some kind of volunteering thing or something and give back.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know, because I'm
Yeah.
totally on board with joining you on it.
Yeah. And even if you want to go and you have some time and you want to do a retail safari trip and we just travel around to different stores, I love doing it.
Oh my God, I would love that. So
Yeah.
get the list together for me,
Okay.
and then we'll list it in the show notes,
Yes.
and tell everybody where they can find you. Instagram, are you
Yes,
on?
I'll send you. Yes, I'm on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. I don't even know what's my handle. I'll get you all that information.
And you have your own website as well, your own gift website. We've talked about it before, but drop that at one more time.
Yeah, that's Wondercam. So it's ONEDERKAM.com. And it's my own personal
Curation.
creation. Yeah.
I love that. I love you. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.